And welcome back. Joining us again this morning, we have Dr. Phillip Lowry. Thank you so much for coming again today.
As always, a pleasure.
So you shared some information because I pretty much say, so what should we talk about this month? And you said this is probably one of the hardest things for people to talk about and probably one of the most important, and that's just the out and out money cost of cancer.
Correct. We take our medical care for granted, including how much it's going to cost until those bills come in later. And as many breakthroughs as there are on cancer, those are extremely expensive these days. And for some people, some families, those expenses become a major part of their fight against cancer.
So you sent me some figures, if we can take a look at these, because I looked at these and went, are you kidding me? This is more per month than some people actually make.
Exactly so. This is the newer breakthroughs in cancer have taken years for development. Their costs are quite high. We've heard on the news recently too, though, that decisions sometimes for how drugs are priced may not always reflect just the cost of making those drugs.
Yeah, and you were saying also adding in, and that's just the cost of the drugs, and then you've got all the other costs that are added in there. When you look at the money aspect of it, how does this impact cancer treatments?
I think the way it impacts cancer treatment is it puts people under a lot of stress. There are even some people who will end up choosing not to take their cancer treatments because of the costs.
Really?
And I think there are two problems there. One is that the costs are high, and those are tough to deal with. But sometimes it's that the patients may not realize the resources that are out there. That as high as these costs are, there are often people or places that they can find that will help them deal with some of those costs if they plan ahead of time.
So where can people turn to get some help?
Well, I think the first thing to do is to be aware that the costs may be high and to be open about speaking to your physician, to the team that's taking care of you. In our office, and I think in most cancer offices, there are special financial counselors who are aware of what insurance will cover, what the patient's responsibility is going to be. There are a number of agencies, Cancer Care of Marquette County and a number of similar agencies in other counties that can help people with some of the incidental costs, the cost of getting back and forth to their cancer treatment, the costs of dealing with some of those personal things that are, it isn't just the drugs, it's the missed work, it's the cost of getting back and forth. Lots of things add up over time.
And and I confess to you that sometimes, getting my yearly screenings, I'm like, oh, I'm just sick of it. But you said some things are worth biting the bullet and paying the cost
Absolutely. We talked at the beginning of this year about cancer screening and finding something early when it can be fixed more and can be fixed more cheaply than later on. And cheap maybe not quite the right word, but I think that all decisions made about medical care should include an awareness of costs. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be done, but knowing ahead of time makes for a lot easier planning, a lot easier dealing with what's coming.
Well, and I think like everybody also knows, and you've emphasized here, catch it earlier, treat it earlier.
Absolutely. And I think that's another one of the big things is, what are you achieving for what you're paying? Something like a mammogram, you're getting a big bang for your buck because you're preventing problems. Some of the later stages of cancer, the treatments may not achieve a lot. And if they're extremely expensive, some people need to know that so they can make those tough decisions about where do they want to spend their money, what's going to be important for their quality of life. Are they going to be spending months, years, paying back something that they didn't get too much out of?
Gotcha. All right. Well, I thank you so much. And thank you for being willing and maybe breaking down that wall. I think some people look at doctors like, I don't even know how to begin the conversations.
They have to. 20, 30 years ago, maybe it wasn't as big of a deal, but it's huge. As you said, if cancer treatment costs 2 to 5 to 10 times more than someone makes in a year, that's a big deal. That needs to be dealt with.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us again this month. And I know you'll be back next month with more.
Always. Thank you.
Thank you.